We meet Kopa as Simba and Nala's first son in the book series, The Lion King's 6 New Adventures. But did you ever wonder what really happened to him? Because when we look at the Lion King movies, we don't see Kopa anywhere. There have been a lot of theories going around, how Zira was the reason for his disappearance. But what if Kopa survived Zira's attacks? He could have led a completely different life, away from the Pride Lands. But more importantly, who would have helped the young cub? Because when we look at The Lion King 2, we see that the number of lionesses often changes, which gives me a reason to think that one of these lionesses could have helped him. So, what if Kopa was secretly adopted by one of these lionesses? To make his story clear, we have to go back to the time Zira was about to attack him. Kopa left the Pride Lands again to play with his new friend, Vitani. Although he didn't understand why she was living so far from the Pride Lands, he loved the feeling of going on an adventure every time he came down to play with her and her brother, Nuka. They also had a little brother, Kovu, that was just born, but he was too young to come play with them, so he didn't really know him. But one day, everything was about to change for Kopa. Zira still saw him as the son of her hated enemy, Simba. She was a devoted follower of Scar and always believed that Simba was the reason he died. When Zira heard that Simba would be the new king, she attacked him, telling him that her son, Kovu, was the rightful king since Scar had chosen him as his heir. But Simba defeated her and banished her and her lionesses to the Outlands. But from that day, she got even more angry and started plotting her revenge against Simba, and one of her plans included Kopa. She thought that Simba had killed the one she loved the most, so she would do the same. She came up with a perfect plan and waited for Kopa to come play with Vitani again. When she finally saw him coming, she sent Vitani and Nuka out to get her some food, just before he arrived. When Kopa arrived, he was surprised that Vitani wasn't home. Kopa asked Zira where Vitani had gone. Zira told Kopa that she would take him to them. Kopa saw no danger, so he followed Zira. But then, something changed. They went further and further into the Outlands. By the time Kopa realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. Zira's smile faded and she became very angry. She screamed at Kopa that his father had ruined her life and made her lose the one thing she loved most. So she was going to make Simba feel what she had felt. Zira angrily reached for Kopa with her claws, letting all of her anger out. When she thought he was dead, she picked up his bloody body and brought him to the border of the Outlands. Then, she returned home. But Zira didn't know that someone was watching her. One of the lionesses in her pride had seen her taking Kopa for a walk. Her name was Shabaha, and she was one of Zira's closest allies. She didn't know much about the Pride Lands, but she was around when Scar became king after Mufasa's death. But Shabaha also knew something that Zira didn't. She knew it was the hyenas that killed Scar, and not Simba. Because she was hiding when Simba gave Scar a chance to leave. Still, she knew just how much Zira hated Simba. At night, Zira would stay up with her and tell her stories of the evil things she would do to Simba if she had the chance. Shabaha didn't really agree with Zira on everything, but she was too scared to say something. She knew everyone followed Zira, so she felt like she had to do that too, even though it didn't feel right for her. But when she saw Zira taking Kopa for a walk, she knew she had to do something. She watched in fear as Zira beat up Kopa, but she was too scared to step in. After Zira left Kopa at the border of the Outlands, she waited a while to make sure she was gone, Then she came out of her hiding place. Shabaha knew that if she wanted to save his life, she had to act fast. Kopa was very weak, but she quickly took him on her back to carry him away. After a while, they finally reached the jungle, where Shabaha took a better look at his wounds. They were deep, but she knew he could survive this. She treated his wounds and brought him some food. Slowly, Kopa began to heal. And as he healed, he grew stronger and stronger. Shabaha started to love her life again. She didn't have to follow orders anymore, and she finally got to take care of a cub like she always dreamed of. Kopa started to see Shabaha as his mother, and he was happy with his new life. As the days went by, Shabaha started teaching Kopa how to hunt and how to fight. She had trained with Zira and the other lionesses many times, so she knew what she was doing. Kopa learned really fast. Soon, he could tell what animals were coming their way by the scent in the air. But while he was enjoying his happy days of hunting, trouble was growing in the Pridelands. Zira still felt like Kovu was the rightful king of the Pridelands, since Scar had chosen him as his heir. Killing Kopa wasn't enough for her. She had to take back what in her eyes belonged to Scar. In the meantime, Simba and Nala had gotten 2 other children, Kiara and Kion. Zira started training Kovu to kill Simba since he was a little cub. Some time had passed, and he was finally old enough. She made a plan, and she let her other kids, Nuka and Vitani, plant fires so that Kovu could save Kiara. When Simba would see this, she was sure he would accept Kovu into his pride, and her plan worked. But Rafiki sensed that something was off. Although Mufasa told him of his plans to unite Kovu and Kiara, something still didn't feel right. So he went to the tree to look at some paintings of the past, hoping that they would give him some advice. But then, a strange wind came through the leaves of his tree. He smelled a lion, but it was a new smell. Just as he was staring at an old painting of a cub, he realized where he recognized this smell from. It was Kopa, the long-lost prince, and he was alive. He quickly carried his staff and jumped out of his tree. If the Pridelands were going to survive the coming battle, they would need all the help they could get. Rafiki began his journey to find Kopa. He didn't have a plan, only the hope that somehow the spirits would guide him to Kopa. After some days, Rafiki was about to give up and go back to the Pridelands. He decided to first take a nap in a tree, but as soon as Rafiki stood in the tree, he saw something out of the jungle. A lonely lion walking in the bushes. The lion had Simba's golden fur, but he couldn't really see his face. This must be him, Rafiki thought. He swung down the tree and rushed over to Kopa's side. At first, Kopa didn't recognize Rafiki because he wasn't expecting anyone from the Pridelands to come so far away. But as soon as he heard Rafiki's crazy laughter, he knew it was Rafiki. "Uncle Rafiki?" Kopa asked, looking at him. "What are you doing here?" Rafiki replied. Kopa told Rafiki everything. How Zira tried to kill him, and how Shabaha, his new mother, saved him and carried him away. Rafiki's eyes darkened in pain. He knew Kopa had gone through a lot, and it made it harder to ask him to return to the Pridelands. But the Pridelands needed him. Rafiki told Kopa that Zira was still alive, and she was planning to attack his father, Simba. Kopa realized what this meant, and he had to do something. He knew that meeting Rafiki out there was not by chance. Kopa went back to Shabaha and told her what Zira was planning. Shabaha was sad. She was afraid that this day would come. She had trained Kopa and taught him everything she knew, but she was worried that it may not be enough. "I will go back with you," Shabaha said. "Really? Thank you! You're the best!" Kopa replied. He knew he would need her help. She was fierce and strong. But when they got to the Pride Lands, Zira had already attacked. Kopa saw Simba for the first time in many years, and tears rolled down his face. Then he remembered what the evil Zira did to him, and that's when he saw it. Simba was looking bruised, and Zira's group was surrounding him. Kopa's heart began to beat faster. Simba was injured. "I'm going to help him," Kopa said. "I'm not afraid of Zira anymore." He sounded like he was trying to convince himself, but Shabaha pushed him forward. "I trained you well, my dear. I'm sure you will be fine." Full of confidence, Kopa ran toward the battle to stop Zira. Zira raised her paw to slap Simba, but just before the slap hit, Kopa jumped in between them. Everyone was in shock. This lion looked just like Simba. Simba wouldn't believe at first. He thought Kopa was dead. But Zira immediately recognized him and stepped back in fear. "Kopa? You're alive?" she said in a hushed tone, but it was loud enough for Vitani to hear. She was surprised that her mother, Zira, knew exactly who he was. "Surprised to see me, Zira?" "Your plan to kill me didn't work," Kopa replied before pushing her backwards. Vitani could not believe the words she had just heard. A plan to kill her best friend? "Mother, what is Kopa talking about?" she asked Zira, hoping that it was all a mistake. "Not now, Vitani. Forget about Kopa. Now is the time I trained you for. Now we should attack Simba and his pride," Zira commanded her. But just then, something shocking happened. Vitani walked over to Kopa's side. "What do you think you're doing, Vitani?" Zira asked. But Vitani had made up her mind. She had lost Kopa once. She would not lose him again. Then, Kovu and Kiara landed at the same time on the battlefield, facing their parents. Kiara told Simba to call off the battle because they are all one. The wise King Simba listened to Kiara, but Zira only got angrier. She jumped at Simba, but before Simba or Kiara could react, it was Vitani that got in her mother's way. Vitani caught her mother and pushed her into a flowing river, ending her circle of life. Kopa hugged Vitani, but then he asked her why she had hit her own mother. "I always suspected that she had something to do with your disappearance," Vitani said. "You just confirmed my fears, and now that I have found you, I never want to lose you again." Vitani hugged Kopa with tears running down her face. But Simba was still too stunned to speak. "Kopa?" he managed to say, but he was still looking for words. Then Nala showed up. "How are you alive, Kopa? Where have you been? What happened to you?" The questions had no end. "It's a long story, Mom," he said. "Let's go home. I'll explain everything there. But first, I'd like you to meet Shabaha, the one that saved my life." Shabaha was watching from a distance since she wanted to let Kopa do this fight by himself. All the lionesses were shocked to see her. No one ever knew what happened to her. Simba invited all the lionesses from the battle to follow them to Pride Rock. Like Kiara had said, they were all one. At Pride Rock, Kopa finally told them his story. How Zira had ambushed him and left him for dead, and how Shabaha had rescued him and taken care of him in the jungle. Vitani started to feel really guilty. She knew Zira was up to no good, but she didn't know her mother actually tried to kill Kopa. After Kopa finished talking, Nala walked up to Shabaha and hugged her. thank you for saving my baby," she whispered. "I love him," Shabaha told her. Zira's lionesses were watching from behind, all in great shock. Meanwhile, Kiara was surprised by his story. She didn't know Simba and Nala had a child before her. She had been training all her life to be the future queen, but now that Kopa was back, he would be the rightful king. "We have so much to tell you, Kopa," Simba said, but he didn't know where to start. He told Kopa all about Kiara and Kion and all that had happened while he was away. Kion now had the roar of the elders and was the leader of his own lion guard, but his sister, Kiara, had been training to be the queen of the Pride Lands one day. Kopa looked at Kiara with pride. She looked so much like Nala, and he could tell from the few words he heard her say to Simba that she was going to be a very wise queen. But there was something bothering Kopa. Simba said he had another son named Kion, yet Kopa couldn't see him anywhere. Had Zira gotten him too? Did she kill his brother just like she tried to kill him? So when everyone left, he went to Kiara to ask her about Kion. "So, I've been wondering. Dad said he had another son named Kion, but since I've been here, I haven't seen him anywhere, and no one is talking about him. Is he still alive?" Kopa asked. Kiara was surprised by the genuine care in his voice. She felt ashamed that she thought he wanted to talk about something else. "Oh, Kion is away. He had a little situation, so he traveled to the Tree of Life to find answers. I'm sure he will come home once he feels better," she replied. Kopa was relieved. His brother was still alive, but he didn't know that he was in for a bigger surprise, because something was going on outside. In the meantime, Simba had appointed Vitani to create a new lion guard while Kion was away. Since she was the sister of the future king, Vitani immediately knew who to ask. Seeing how fierce Kopa was to step in during the fight between Zira and Simba, she knew he was the perfect fit. But to her surprise, Kopa refused her offer. "I just got home, and I don't know my way around the Pride Lands yet. I will bring your group in danger. But I do know who is the perfect fit. The one that taught me everything. You should ask Shabaha. I've never met anyone so brave," Kopa said. Vitani actually really liked that idea, so she went to ask Shabaha. She was happy to do something good for the Pride Lands, so she joined Vitani's guard. Together, they chose the rest of the members, and soon the new protectors of the Pride Lands could get to work. And soon after that, Kion and his group returned from the Tree of Life, but they didn't know that Simba appointed Vitani and her group as the new protectors of the Pride Lands while they were away. When Vitani and her group saw Kion and his guard coming from the Outlands, she was about to attack. It seemed a bit suspicious, since he was surrounded by a lot of outsiders. Zazu saw it happen and went to get Kiara for help. When Kopa heard this, he went with her to the border of the Outlands. When they arrived, Kion was just about to attack Vitani, and Kiara stopped him. She explained that a lot happened while he was away, and Zira had completed her journey in the Circle of Life. Now, with Zira gone, Vitani and the other lionesses had joined Simba's pride, and since Vitani was the sister of the future king, she and her group protected the Pride Lands while Kion and his guard were away. Kion was surprised because he saw Kovu standing next to Kiara, but then he noticed another strange lion he had never seen before.
"And he? Who's he?"
he asked Kiara in a hushed tone.
"You're not going to believe it,"
Kiara said.
"But that's our elder brother. Zira almost killed him before we were born, so he has been hiding far away for a long time. He just got back too. You have a lot to catch up on, Kion, she said.
That's unbunga-leavable! Bunga screamed before Kion could even react. But even Kion was so surprised that he couldn't say anything. An older brother? He always wanted a brother. Kopa walked up to Kion and hugged him. You must be Kion. I've been looking forward to meeting you, Kopa said. Kion didn't know how to react, but he was happy he finally got the brother he always dreamed of. He knew they were gonna cause a lot of trouble together. As they all walked back to Pride Rock, Vitani tapped Kopa lightly. As they were talking, they soon realized they could be more than friends. Kopa, Kiara, and Kion talked about their experiences and shared the lessons they had learned. Kion soon had to go back to the Tree of Life to help the Night Pride, but for now, he first wanted to get to know his brother better. Kopa took Vitani and his sister hunting, helping them both to become better leaders. Kiara, I want you to know that I have no intention in taking the throne, Kopa said. I have been away from here for too long. You know the Pride Lands better than anyone, and I'm sure you are going to be a great queen. Kiara was relieved and told him she was happy with his help and that she couldn't do it without him. Everyone was happy, and the Pride Lands were peaceful once again. Kopa and Vitani finally found each other again, and they couldn't wait what the future would bring. And Kion had the brother he'd always dreamed of.